Okay, guys, so today is lesson, here it is, lesson one, practice C. All right, so the reason we're doing this is because now we are going to start bringing everything together. Okay? So it's going to get a lot to remember today. So we're going to go step by step. This is a long video, but this will be your focus for pretty much this week and next week. So this is, you've got a week and a half on just this by itself before we start the next thing. So because I really need to make sure that you understand everything that we're doing. Because if you don't understand this, we're done. We don't go any further. So having said all of that, let me point out one more thing. All of this that we've been doing, you already are doing every time you play your instrument. Everything you play, you already know how to do it. You already know that, for example, on a trumpet, the bottom line is E. You already know that. You're just learning the why it works the way it does. So let's get into that right now. Okay, so this is a sample straight out of the band book, and orchestra people, the next sample will be yours. But Mozart melody, you hear that at this level, that always means twinkle, twinkle. Okay, that's all this is. Now, let's talk about what we see. What do we see from lesson one right now? Well, the first thing we see is a music staff. Okay, so we see there's a music staff. We see there are measures. We see there are bar lines. That was me closing my door because there's a dog barking outside. So we see there's a staff. We see there's a measure. We see there's bar lines. Where do we see all that? Okay, well, let's talk about it. Right here is your staff. That's what everything's written on. There are your bar lines. And the space between every bar line is a measure. Every one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 measures in the song. Okay? So, just to make things simple, let's number them. Let's number the measures. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that covers all of that. Just for start off right there. What's next? Well, we can skip musical alphabet. All right, what else do we see? What's on this next page? Just as a side note, let's keep a running total of what we've seen so far. We've seen measures, staff, bar lines. What else is there? Do we see ledger lines? Yes, we do. I'm going to circle it, but then I'm going to erase it so you guys know it's there. That is a ledger line, the little line running right through the note. We make a big version of it for you so you can see it. This is what that looks like if we were to zoom in. Looks familiar, don't it? That is a ledger line. Okay? All right, just for the giggles, let's erase it. So we see ledger lines. And that's 1, 1. Okay? Let's go back. Now we skip 1, 2. 1-3 was clefs. Do we see clefs here? Yes, we do. Right there at the beginning of every line. Just like I told you. Funny how that works. Occasionally, Bloom does know what he's talking about. Okay, so stick with the green. It's 1-3. Now, let's talk about clefs. If we were reading a viola part, we would see an alto clef. If we were reading a trombone part, those of you in my 5th period play trombone. Cecilio, Jason, Edgar, I'd say Nicholas, Marco. Those are trombone. You would see a bass clef on your part. The clef tells you how to read the music. If you see a bass clef, your bottom line is G, and you play lower music. If you see a treble clef, your bottom line is E, and you play slightly higher music. That's what it's for. That's why it tells you how it works. Okay? So that's what a clef is. So for 1-3, we've got clef. All right. So just as a helper, up in the top right here, let's do this. We're going to draw a little bit of a staff. And mine is slightly small, but that's because I know what I'm writing. I'm just using an illustration. Whenever you receive one of these quizzes or whenever you're looking at a piece of music and you don't know the words, or you don't know the letters for the notes, don't write it in under. Write a little helper up above it at the top of the page. The only way you're going to learn is comparing back and forth. At some point when you're learning multiplication, you take your times tables drill sheet away, and you have to start doing it from memory. Same thing here. This right here is your drill sheet, okay? So eventually it's going to go away. Some of you don't even need it now, but it's helpful. Okay, so 1-4, A was notes and B was rests. What else do we see on here that are notes? Well, we don't see any rests because I don't see anything that doesn't look like a note. I see a half note. I see a bunch of quarter notes, and that's it. So again, keeping the colors. 1-4 with a quarter note and half note. And just to make sure that's nice and centered. Okay. So, are we seeing how this starts to come together a little bit? Now, do we see anything with a dot? No, we don't. Do we see, let's see, 1-5 with the dot. Do we see a time signature? Yes, we do. We see one at the very beginning. And if you don't see it later, and let's see what color have we not used. We have not used red. Let's use red. So here, we see our time signature. And you don't see it on the next line. Why? You've already seen it. You're only going to see it again if it changes. Think of the clef like the lines on a freeway. They tell everybody where to go. But the time signature is like your speed limit. You only see it when it changes. It sets you and leaves you alone. Most freeways, your speed limit is 70, legally. You won't talk about how fast some people go. But your clef, you always see the lines on the freeway. Lines on any road telling you where to go. Okay, so that's a good analogy for you to remember. Now, having said all that, we see a time signature. Now up in orange right here, let's write our time signature. 4 is how many beats per measure. I'm writing the wrong word. Beats per measure. And the bottom number, whole, equals 4. Now, if you wanted to, just keeping with the theme, you could do whole equals 4, draw a little quarter note equals 2, or half note equals 2, draw a little quarter note equals 1, and draw a little eighth note equal 1/2. How do we know that? Well, if the whole note gets 4, the half note gets half of that, so that's 2. The quarter note gets half of that, or a quarter of the whole notes, that's 1. I'm not going to worry about the eighth note right now because there's none here. So, in keeping with our thing, nothing out of 1-5, but we do have a time signature. It's 1-6. Okay. 7 and 8, enharmonics and sharps, flats, and naturals. So I don't see any of that there. Do we have any other unaccounted for symbols? Yes, we do. We have a breath marks. Now, this is a symbol that has two different meanings. For band players, it is a breath mark. You take a brief pause and take a breath. For orchestra, it's a bow lift. You lift your bow. At the end of the day, it accomplishes the same thing. A short pause, very short pause between two measures. Allows the wind player to breathe, allows the orchestra player to reset their bow. That's all it's for. Okay? You're never going to be tested on what a breath mark or bow lift looks like. So we're going to erase it, and it's not going on our terms list. Now, let's start talking about how much each one gets. Well, we know a quarter note gets 1, so let's label them. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Oh, now what does a half note get? Half note gets 2. Very good. We have 1, 1, 1. I should write these in blue just to differentiate. Let's go back and make sure that we get this right. Move on. Looking through the rest of this, we see a similar pattern. 1, 1, 1, 2. Or no, that's a 1. Getting ahead of myself. 1, 1, 2. Okay, so you'd be able to fill in the rest. Again, quarter note here versus half note. Look at the difference and be mindful. Now, let's talk about the letters. This is where it starts coming together. Okay? The letters are what make the sound. The letters tell you what sound to make. So, a trumpet player seeing these first 4 notes, C, C, G, G. Ta, 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 ta. A, G. Once you know what pitch sounds like, what each one resonates at, how each one is heard, that's where the difference. It's connecting the sound to the letter. 25 years of music has taught me that bum, 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 bum is C, C, G, G for a trumpet. For a piano, it would be B flat, F, F. And that's a whole nother conversation. But you read the notes as they're written. Let's keep going. The bottom space, F, F, E, E. Where am I getting all this from? Well, look up here. Didn't the treble clef tell you what letters go where? And the rest of it is just deduction. This would be D. First ledger line is C. And so forth. Now, we're going over this again because the next example I give on Friday's video will have accidentals, enharmonics, and things like that. The goal isn't just to learn this, it's to learn how to make the sounds match it. I'm teaching you both halves of it. I'm teaching the academic side because a lot of it you already know from the instrumental side. The goal is to put them together. Okay? Use this because this is a song you all know. Think about it and fill in the rest. I will create a Google Doc assignment with this image built into it so that you can play around with it and figure it out and type out what you need to type. Okay? In the meantime, I'm going to upload this video. I expect you to watch this video when class starts, and I will see you in the Zoom chat at 8:45.